Hello, this is Linda Vettrus-Nichols, and do I have an amazing woman to introduce you to, Dr. Bindu Babu. Welcome, Dr. Bindu.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. You have the most amazing story of transformation, and I would love to have you share it with everyone.
Sure, I would love to. If it's all about, understanding that our life journey is what makes us who we are today, and it it's who I am.
Yes, I love that part. Right? Own it. So go for it.
Um, so a little bit about myself. I went through. I am a medical physician, and I went through my journey where I realized that I was picking up things that didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
But I knew it was something out of the ordinary in the sense that it wasn't just luck or it was just, being smart, even though I couldn't understand or grasp that because I was so into science. Like I was very, very left-brained.
Okay.
And, I would pick up things in my patients or my clients and then I would be like, oh, no, it's nothing. It's just luck. It's so forth. But I knew, ever since I was a kid, I knew I just thought it was luck. And then I read this book by Dr. Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. And that completely changed my life.
Very cool.
For me in so many ways, because it resonated the fact that here's another medical physician who, he was Yale trained or Ivy League trained. And he went through, he was chairman of psychiatry in Florida, and he's written like hundreds of publications of scientific background. And then he decided to do hypnotherapy on one of his patients, and he tapped into their past lives.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was profound. He's coming
Yeah.
from a Jewish background where, these things are not very familiar to him as opposed to other religions. And
Mm-hmm.
he went through his journey, and it took him almost 10 years before he came out with the book where he decided, he needed to help other people in a different scale,
Mm-hmm.
more spiritual, mindfulness, life purpose. And, it was a big leap for him,
Yeah.
his career, his life, everything was science. And now
Right.
he's done him and his wife has done so amazing work all over the world. He's been on Oprah, he's been on, with Deepak, the whole spiel.
Right.
And I, decided that since this resonated more with me, I went after him and I got trained by him to become
Oh,
like a past
wonderful.
life regression therapist. Yeah. And that was how it
Wow.
set me into my journey of coming out of not just science, but to incorporate different holistic views.
Right.
So then I did I became a Reiki master. I then did my doctorate in natural medicine. Then I did my PhD in integrative medicine. And now I do a lot of work. My expertise is on narcissism and narcissistic toxic relationships and their healing and recovery of people who've been in those relationships. But I do a lot of work in the scientific field where I bring science showing how much mindfulness or meditation and Harvard studies that prove gray matter rebirth and growth and so forth, so that the science world now can incorporate my knowledge to help heal people. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, very cool journey. And you've even been asked to come and speak for even different community events. And tell us a little bit more about that. What people reach out to you and ask you for connecting community.
So well, locally in New York, I do a lot of nonprofit organization work called New American Voters Association. And I am the director of Leadership Academy part of it, where I do a lot of community education and community work in regards to mindfulness, domestic abuse, mental limiting factors of the mindset, and trying to overcome all those fears. And right now with COVID going on, I've been doing a lot of work with the EMS, with the unions, with meditation, mindfulness, healing. So whatever I can do for the community now with the quarantine, I've been doing. I've been doing group workshops on Zoom with people who are going through quarantine and relationship issues. And it's been just a plethora of things that I've been doing
Wonderful.
right now.
I
Yeah.
love how you have that community outreach. And you were kind of raised with that attitude, right? Tell us a little bit about, your parents and your upbringing.
So my parents, they're from Kerala, India. My mother came here as a nurse back in the late 70s.
Okay.
And then my father came. They were both the eldest in their family. They came here. They worked hard during that time. In the beginning, they actually applied for their siblings to come. Both of them were head of a household of 8 to 9 siblings each.
Wow.
And they applied. Then it took at that time almost 10 to 15 years for them to get their citizenship or green cards for the siblings to come. They came here. They helped them start their lives here. I remember as a kid, we all lived together at one point, and
Wow.
moved out. And I've been seeing how much my parents were giving, at the same time raising me and my sister. And going from we used to live in Brooklyn, then we moved to Long Island. So it was interesting how much community work they also did for our society as
Right.
well, with the different organizations, Indian organizations that we were involved. So they really kind of just was giving people,
Mhm.
and they didn't have to, when a lot of times when you come to a new country with maybe like the usual stories, $2 in your pocket, you don't have much, you're learning a new language, you're learning a new culture,
Yeah.
different foods that you can't even get here at that time. I mean, now you have so much, but back in those days,
Mhm.
you didn't even have a place of worship, if you
Wow.
were a Hindu, or if you're, so
Sure.
they combated all that. And a lot of time human tendency is, let me try to survive first before I can give. But my
Yeah.
parents kind of did everything together in one shot. So
Wow.
they made it pretty strong to me that if you put your mind to anything, you can do it. It's all about heart.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I worked for World Relief and helped out with the resettlement of Russian refugees who were leaving for religious persecution. And yeah, that was interesting how then when their families started to come, they were then empowered to help them. So that's it. That's really something that your parents came and were able to do all of that on their own. That's quite the story. That's
There was
neat,
nobody here for them at that time. So
right?
very small community, very small, like it's not what it is now.
No, I totally get that. That's very cool. Okay, and so finding contentment. What does that really mean to you when you hear those words, finding contentment?
Well, to me, we live in a culture or society, which it is also, what we are taught from our families. And I think as parents, we do it on the basis of helping our children have a good life,
Right.
and it's always goal driven happiness. You're born, be careful, you need to make money, be careful, get yourself educated so that you can make money and you can have a sustainable, beautiful life with a house and a car, and, you don't want to be on the streets. I mean, these are things that the fears
Right.
that parents have on their children. So you can't really blame anybody. It's what's worked from their parents, right? And generations. Because if you think of
Yeah.
United States, it's an immigrant basis. Everybody
Mhm.
came here either out of poverty or a new life, or so it's already mentally in them
Mhm.
to make sure their children have a better life than us. And what's great, fear-driven teachings.
Mhm.
So all of us have that. I'm going to get happy when I get a college degree, or I'm going to be happy when I get my house, or when I get married, or when I
Yeah.
have my children, or, we're all goal oriented. And with that
Mhm.
mindset since childhood,
Right.
you're never understanding that, no, I can be happy right here at this moment.
Mhm.
It's not when I get the house. I mean, that's great. It's an addition, an adjuvant,
Right.
but I'm happy right here. I have food. I have my home. I'm okay. I don't really care what the Joneses have.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah,
Right
that's
there.
huge. It's huge. I mean, I have neighbors who are like, oh, look at their flowers. I need to go to Home Depot and get better flowers, or I need to
Yeah.
match them, if not better. And it's because you're not content with what you have,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
So when you really love yourself and this moment, and you understand, I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm
Yeah.
not with all my deficiencies and with
Yeah.
all my positive attributes. And that's when you really kind of sit there and you're like, I feel good. I'm content.
Right. And outer contentment only comes from inner contentment. Like if you don't have the inner contentment, you're not going to be happy with what's outside of you, right? I mean, there's even people who like are depressed and like, I shouldn't be depressed. I have all this stuff, and I have this and that and the next thing. It's like, yeah, right. So I'm not associating the two. It's just that same idea. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. And it's interesting. We are kind of, it's like a paradox of how the way we are driven, but yet there's a religious belief of trusting and having faith in God,
Mm-hmm.
that everything will work out. But because of fear, it's a contradictory thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The concept is not there, but it's really there. It's just be content. And when you
Yeah.
find your content, like you said, inside,
Yeah.
everything else falls in place.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. It was so good to get to know you a little bit better.
Same here. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.